Arrest fewer people to save prison space, the police chiefs have been told. We're going to read into this more from the Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Times with the headline of Arrest Fewer People to Save Prison Space, Police Chiefs have been told. An internal document by the National Police Chief Council recommends pausing non-priority arrests until there is capacity in overcrowding jails. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share us across social media so others are notified of this video. Yes, stop arresting people, stop committing crimes so that we don't have this issue about overcrowding. We've covered a few different stories with regarding to prison sentences, and I'm going to regurgitate some of the things that we were about them, but I'm also going to add more to it as well, because this is a result of some of the policies and implementations that we have here in the UK. Now, one of the things that the general public doesn't want is more prisons. So the question is that, well, how do you reduce the overcrowding? You have to look at some of the crimes that are being committed. Like, let's take drugs, for example, right? I did a question about how we can, I did a community poll a while back asking what we could do, what government could do to reduce overcrowding. And one of the options I put in there was about drugs. And I got a lot of comments from people who were basically saying that let's legalize a lot of drugs. And I thought that was a great way of doing it, because we do have a lot of people who are stuck or taking drugs and addicted to them and whatnot. I mean, rather than obviously punishing them for taking drugs, we should look at ways we can help them and try to get them off it. As an addiction, try to rehabilitate them to be off them. And I feel like, me personally, people who do drugs, and because of the laws that we have around them, people should not go to prison for doing drugs. Now, if you're a drug dealer, I think maybe there's a bit more difference there, because you're potentially harming other people. But, I mean, if all drugs were legal and it was done in our legal system, through our healthcare system, where it's all covered and looked after and all the precautions are in place, it's a different story. But there's not really those systems, there's safety mechanisms there for those outside in the black market for drugs. That's just the reality of it. So if you made drugs legalized, and you put them within the system, you kill a lot of drug dealing. You really, really do. And you also kill a lot of crime as well. And those who are addicted to hooked onto them, obviously, you do that through the doctors and GPs, and look at ways of how you can get them off that, and obviously help and therapy and all this. Yes, I'm fully aware all this costs money, but let's just put aside, let's just pretend, we have a big pile of gold somewhere that can actually help people. Just roll with me, all right? And just doing those kind of things can make a difference, and that will help reduce the prison numbers as well with drugs. Now, other ways, obviously, is depending on, as similar to drugs, is obviously what kind of crimes they are. Now, obviously, murder, rape, sexual assault, those kind of high crimes, obviously need to go to prison, some for the rest of their lives, because these are the most abhorrent. Some of the most abhorrent. Rape is obviously one of the most abhorrent crimes, and murder, obviously. And terrorism to a certain extent as well are some of the most horror. Do we need to put protesters behind bars? No, we don't need to put protesters behind bars. That's not going to, I know we've changed the laws that some protesters obviously doing what they're doing, and some of them are in prison. Do we need to throw them in prison? No. You know what we could make them do? Yeah, if you really want to have this law, this stupid law, I don't think we should, but if they go too far and you're arresting them, community service. Just get them to do community service. Put them to use rather than wasting the space within the prisons. So there's another way we can clear capacity. Now, on some of the minor offences, so obviously carrying knives, carrying guns, weapons like that, obviously, I would say that would obviously. Those ones, I have to say, they have to be in prison. Those are just dangerous weapons, and you've got to learn the hard way. You can't. So I don't think community service is enough for them. Now, obviously, theft. It depends. Theft and burglary depends on I would say depends on the level of theft that they have done. I would say, in terms of no, actually scratch that. No, those people should be theft actually and robbery. You know, especially those who rob people's houses and swipe so much off the. Yeah, they should go to prison. Really, to be fair, they may seem as minor offences. You know, it's about the reform in the prison service. Obviously, will require a rechanging of how crimes and what the levels of crime should be, depending on the kind of depending on what the crime is. I think that needs to be looked into as well, about the levels, about those levels as well, because I think there are a lot of minor offences where instead of prison we can get them to do community service instead, which I think would actually be more helpful. If there's someone who's not really deemed a threat to society, that have been found to have broken the law, do we really need to throw them in prison? Can we not humiliate them by doing community service? Like, just say, for instance, we had someone who, make somebody do, like, tax avoidance or whatever. Can we not make them do unlimited amount of community service? And put a tag on them or something, and if they're not doing it, then they go to prison or something. Can we not make them, like, put them to use, Like, just imagine this wealthy billionaire or something has been caught for tax fraud, and instead of throwing them in prison, we make them do community service, litter picking, or some of the basic things, fundamentals of force them to do labour work, something that some of them have never experienced in their life. I think that would be that might maybe, but I'm probably sure some people are just angrily shouting, "No, that's a stupid idea, Regan." But I'm just trying to come up with ways, guys, because obviously we don't want the highest of criminals being denied, not being able to go into prisons. And this non-priority arrest is obviously really bad, because what it means is that those who are caught by the police and that are just going to be issued with fines and warnings now because of the situation that they're in, the prison system is in. And it's really, really embarrassing. It really, really is embarrassing for the whole prison system, to be fair. So, yeah. It's just being told by the police, can you not bring so many people behind bars? Yeah, it's really quite damning, to say the least, about how bad our country is right now when it comes to our prison system. So police are being told to make fewer arrests because of a lack of space in prisons, the Times can reveal. Chief constables are being advised to consider pausing non-priority arrests and also suspending operations that may trigger a large number of arrests until there is enough capacity in prisons across England and Wales. The measures, which emerge in an internal document drawn up by the National Police Chief Council, the NPCC, are the latest consequence of the prison's overcrowding crisis. Prison population increased by 5,200 in the year to June 2023. Because of the ongoing impact of the COVID pandemic, the barristers, strikes and tougher sentences law, the rise has outstripped an increase in the capacity of cells. The advice to police to scale back arrests mark another escalation in the crisis and is likely to further hamper Rishi Sunak's effort to restore the Conservative reputation as the party of law and order. The memo to police chiefs seen by the Times stated considerations is to be given to pausing non-priority arrests and any planned operations where large number of arrests may take place to ease the pressure within the criminal justice system. Notwithstanding, public protection remains a priority, and in considering threat, harm and risk assessment is to be completed when considering any pause in police operations. Like I say, protesters, they do not need to be thrown behind bars. Community service is something you can just get them to do, in my opinion. Although I don't think some of them should, depending on who they are. Obviously, assault and whatnot, obviously be carried a bit more. But it depends. It's a case-by-case basis, I would say. The document did not disclose the kind of offence or operations that should be paused, but sources clarified that a more accurate term would be non-urgent arrest. They gave the example of a person named as a suspect in the crime where officers were yet to carry out investigation actions such as reviewing CCTV or carrying out house-to-house forensics for a burglary. They also said large-scale protests and public events that require police presence remained a priority and must not be ignored by forces. Instead, the guidance relates to planned operations that are not specifically intelligence-led, such as operations that do not have to take place on a specific day and could be arranged for a later date. There is a growing concern among police chiefs over the impact of the prison crisis on everyday policing. A separate initial letter from the NPCC to all 43 chief constables in England and Wales have warned that the government's emergency measures are having an unsustainable operational impact on policing. The NPCC warned that the emergency package of measures introduced by the government risks public safety. The crisis may also restrict police officers' ability to respond to urgent calls and investigate crimes, the letter said. It will. It will. Because the government hasn't failed to get prisons under control. They also urged the police chief to record daily incidents to highlight the risks that the crisis is having on frontline policing so they can warn ministers against any further stopgap measures that affect their core duty. The letter, written by Rob Nixon, Chief Constable of Leicestershire Police, and the NPCC, Head of Criminal Justice, and Neville Camp, the Deputy Chief Constable of Surrey Police, said, "We continue along with NPCC Chair Gavin Stevenson made it clear in the strongest terms that the current situation is having an unsustainable operational impact on policing and further deterioration in the situation, in which HMPPSs expect early next week. It will further impact on operational police and risk public safety. It is important for us to be able to show what those risks to public safety are." Yeah, there is this fear, obviously, that police could be pulled from frontline duty. Examples that include frontline officers unexpectedly having to deal with issues relating to prison capacity challenge, the letter wrote, such as riots or delays to custody would affect their ability to respond to urgent calls or investigate crimes. The memo from the NPCC also spelled out the risk of suspects suing police forces for unlawful detention due to the knock-on effect of Operation Early Dawn, under which the HMPPS assesses every morning in which defendants are transferred from police cells and taken to courts. Suspects charged by the police must be brought before a court as soon as practically possible, and if a court lacks the capacity to hold on individuals in court cells, then unfortunately that's a risk that what lies on the police force, the document warned. This is so stupid, all of this. Section 46 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act states that a suspect must appear in court no later than the first sitting of a magistrate's court, but the delay in bail hearings risk having a knock-on effect, the memo warned. The Ministry of Justice said it expects police girls to start freeing up from Thursday when a third emergency measure takes effect that will allow some prisoners to be released up to 70 days early. The department said this should enable it to stand down Operation Early Dawn and resume ball hearings as normal by the end of next week. However, both the Prison Officers Association and the Prison Governors Association, the PRA and the PGA, accused the government of failing to plan ahead and said that the emergency measures were just temporary stopgaps. The PRA has always warned that the prison service is in crisis. Operation Safeguard and Operation Early Dawn and the early release schemes are merely sticking plasters over a gaping wound, Steve Gillingham, the General Secretary of the PRA, had said. But now it is impacting on victims of crime, taking police officers off the streets, and on the courts not functioning properly simply because we are running out of prison spaces. The PRA have been warning about this situation for many years, and government have buried their heads in the sand hoping that it would go away, and it hasn't, and it won't go away. There needs to be urgent solutions with a royal commission to fix prisons and the criminal justice system. Tom Wheely, president of the PTA, said this is a result of the government's inability to plan, and that is true. They have sat on prison issues. They have sat on them. The growth of the prison population over the past 30 years has been well understood. Prison population projections have shown that the population will grow beyond the current prison estate, and the government has not been able to deliver new prison places in order to manage the number of people that they're sending to prison. The impact on the frontline policing is regrettable. It is not the job of police officers to deal with those remanded in custody by the courts. Shabina Mahmood, the Shadow Justice Secretary, pleaded to fix the crisis if her party won the general election expected to be held in autumn. It beggars belief that police are being told to sit on their hands and ignore crimes because the Conservatives have mismanaged the criminal justice system so badly, Mahmood had said. A government spokesperson has said, public safety will always be our first priority. This is why we have backed our police with the officers and resources they need to keep our streets safe, and are introducing new laws to lock up the most dangerous offenders for longer while delivering the biggest prison expansion program in 100 years. We continue to see pressures on our jails following the impact of the pandemic and barristers strike and initially a previously used operational measures to secure transfer of prisoners between courts and custody. Let's it's all well and good saying, look, we're not telling police not to arrest people. We're just telling them to introduce these measures. And the thing is, what tends to happen, guys, is that they say, oh, it's only just temporary, and then it'll be back to normal after this law comes in or whatever. What tends to happen a lot with the government is they allow these things to drag on. They do a lot of kicking the can down the road. We hear that a lot about the Conservatives, when it comes to certain things. And I feel like that they would kick this problem down the road and let it be Labour's problem. because they know that the clock is ticking against them. They know that their time is running out. They know that. Everyone knows that. Everyone's fed up with the Conservatives and they want something different. Now, obviously, what Labour plan to do about the prisons is obviously we'll see when their manifesto comes out, whenever the general election is called. But this is a crisis, and it's a crisis that needs to be addressed. There are so many crises in the UK, and they're going to have their absolutely hands full, and it's going to be a nightmare for the Labour Party, whatever if they do get into power. But these Conservatives have lost control, and the fact that police are being told to arrest fewer people or to let more people off, that kind of stuff, sends the wrong kind of message to criminals out there. It gives them the reins to be able to do what they do and get away with it. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this? By what the police chiefs have been told about being told to arrest fewer criminals, so they can free up space in the prison systems. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel even more unsafe here in England? Let me know your thoughts and more about this in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope to catch you all very, very soon.